Hey guys, how's it going? Hope everyone had a happy new year, and whichever Yule season or Yule holiday you celebrate was a good one. I think it sounds a lot better than happy holidays, to put it bluntly. But right here I've got my Christmas present to myself. This is a C5GA. This is missing the back housing. I do have the housing, I just didn't have it put up onto the actual Siren itself, mainly because it just makes it so much easier to operate. But what we have here is just a C5GA. Take a look at it. There's not too many videos of these on YouTube. There's basically just a couple by 911 Caddy, excuse me. It's pretty much one of the YouTubers that does a lot of these vehicular sirens. But it's made by Federal. It's Federal Sign and Signal. It's got a huge AC Delco starter motor on the back. I actually don't know if it's technically made by AC Delco. It definitely looks like an AC Delco motor. And then it's got the brake right here, which is burned out. I'm gonna have to rewind the brake on this because the brake is, well, it's fried. I'd imagine that the reason why this was taken off of an engine or out of service was probably because of the brake failing, most likely. And a couple other things, the bearings are going a little bit bad and they're a little rough. But I would say mainly that probably the reason why the department got rid of it was because of the burnt out brake. And also the actual shoe, the brake shoe that goes against the rotor was also not tightened down properly. And this is a directional rotor, so I'd imagine that once it got up spinning and you were on the highway, the rotor would actually start to spin by itself, which is probably why they relied heavily on the brake. But there's the front. It is a little dinged up. If anyone has seen my Instagram, you would have noticed these already. It's got a couple of dings to take out of it. It also needs to have the chrome polished. There's also just a couple of spots where the cowling is starting to split, because this cowling is just basically brass. If you were to take it apart and look at it, it's just a soft brass that's starting to split. So I'm trying to be a little bit careful with it. But I will give it a quick little blast at some point, or a little growl, because it is a fire truck siren. And as I've said before in my previous videos, I do happen to live right next to Main Street, so it is a little hairy to get it spun up all the way. But this is kind of just a brief little overview of it. It is in really, really great shape, given the age and the fact that this would have been sitting on an engine, most likely. From the mount, it probably was a cab mount. I would imagine, or maybe actually not even a cab mount. That actually might have been a bumper mount. I forget with Federal, their stuff's a little weird. I do think that this streamlined kind of base would allude to it being a bumper mount, but I'm not entirely sure. But it's, like as I was saying, it's in great condition for it possibly being in service for who knows how long. I haven't quite looked up the serial code for it, so I can know exactly how old it is. But I would imagine it's one of the older ones, because the brake cable is a rayon brake cable. I know that they did change, or the power for the brake, I should say, is rayon. I know that they did change that eventually. However, the main power lug right here, this main power wire, is just a standard like rubber insulated cord. But enough talking. I'll give it a quick little blast. I might not let it coast for super long, just because, like I said, there's you can even hear sirens in the background of the police cars. But I will give it a quick little growl. So I'm going to be starting it with this. This is a lithium jump starter. If you guys are unaware of these things are super convenient, especially for testing vehicular sirens like this, because they weigh nothing and you don't have to lug a huge lead acid battery everywhere you go. This is rated for 450 amps, which is technically under what this should be consistently drawing. I believe the C5 at peak draws about anywhere from like 850 to like 750, something like that. But I'm gonna go ahead and start it with this. I know this can power it, no problem. And it also has minimal arcing on the actual brushes in there. You can go ahead and see the commutator and the actual brush gear right there. Got someone walking with a dog right here for in a second. There's a little bit of pitting on the commutator, but it's not really that bad. A little bit, not pitting, but scarring. But it ain't horrible. The brushes have got a lot of meat on them still, which is really cool to see. But again, it's mainly this brake that has to be rewound, which I will do in a later date, then post a different video of that. But I'll go ahead and give it a brief little blast. You might be able to actually even hear the bearing noise that it has in the rotor. And yeah, you guys can see a bit of a better video of what they actually sound like, or at least when they're growled. I hope to do a longer format video at some point where I can find a better place to test it, because I haven't yet devised a really good testing location, mainly just because of my area. It's just, I live like right in the heart of the city, so it's a little difficult to find places where I can actually be, you know, ridiculously loud without annoying too many people. But thankfully it is South Carolina, so it's not too far to go to find nowhere. But yeah, so I'll go ahead and I'll give it a brief little blast. I'll go ahead and start this, turn this on, and go ahead and set its jump start. This is going to be very, very quick. Like I said, I don't want to piss off too many people. There we go. I'm actually going to do it on the actual cord, not the lug, because then if you spark on that lug, you can end up screwing the threads up and then you can't take the wire back off. So let's do this real quick. It's got a lot of torque to it too. You can see exactly why they call them coasters. That brake is definitely a must, especially on the highway.